welcome. It's next week tonight. I'm your host, Joshua, and this is the show that keeps you a week ahead of the competition. We are on week 11 already. If you've been here before, you know the drill, but on the off chance you're new, welcome, and we're going to be talking about some players you should be stashing, adding. At this point, we're going for some like high upside guys. Earlier in the season, obviously, we were going for, sleepers and things like that. And then as we got to the middle of the season, of course, streamers because of the bye weeks. And we're still doing that this week. That's pretty much most of what we have going. In the middle of the season there, I was really pushing trades, but nothing really new at this point. So I'm going to talk about some possibly high upside players you can be adding, and then some streamers. And I try to focus on positions that are especially bad with that week's buys, which we'll go over what four teams are on bye in week 11. But that's it. We're going to hit all the takes really quick, and then we're going to rewind and go over it in depth. Let's go. Welcome to next week tonight. Okay, guys, I'm down here because you don't need to see me. You need to see the takes, and here it goes. So these are, I said, final dice rolls because, look, high upside guys you can go after that can actually make an impact if things go right. First of all, tight end Foster Moreau. Then we got wide receiver Terrace Marshall. He did play Thursday night, so he's not necessarily going to be a free pickup, but keep an eye on him if he gets lost in the wash of the weekend and everything. Had a decent game tonight. I think one big play. And then running back Isaiah Spiller. All right. Then we've got the bye week teams in week 11. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you're going to be missing Lawrence, Etienne, Christian Kirk. For the most part, that's your main players. Miami Dolphins, you're missing Tua, Hill, of course, Waddle, and Mostert. Hey, Jeff Wilson, too, who we told you to pick up last week. Seattle Seahawks, you're missing Geno, Metcalf, Lockett, and Walker. And then Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Brady, Evans, Godwin, Fournette. So a lot of good wide receivers are going to be missing in week 11. If you didn't pick that up, Kirk, Waddle, Hill, Metcalf, Lockett, Evans, Godwin, all these guys out. So let's get through the streamers now. And don't worry, there's a number of wide receivers when we get there. But first, we're going to do quarterbacks. Taylor Heineke. He just came through for us last week as well. So if you have him, hold on to him. Kenny Pickett playing the Cincinnati Bengals in week 11. And Jerick McKinnon playing the Chargers. Chuba Hubbard playing Baltimore. For wide receivers, we got Michael Gallup playing Minnesota. Wan'Dale Robinson playing Detroit. And a fun one here, Deshaun Jackson playing Carolina. And for Bengals and for team defense, we're going with the Bengals. All right. And we'll explain a little bit more of that right now. So thanks if you just came for that, that's fine. I know there's some viewers and listeners. I haven't been splitting up the podcast as much because really it's been so quick. But I know there's some viewers on the YouTube that really just stop watching after the first 5 minutes or something. That's fine. You got what you came for. All right. I'm supposed to do things which is really dumb of me. I'm not good at this apparently. I'm supposed to be doing things to get you to keep around 10 minutes or something, right? I don't know. Okay. So Foster Moreau, really should be adding him. Waller went to IR. Okay. Hunter Renfrow also to IR. So that's moving him even further up the priority target list. And in the past 3 weeks, which Waller's been out for 3 weeks, he's just now going on IR. I don't know. But in that time, he actually has an extremely high snap share across. When I say quietly has the third highest snap share percentage, I literally mean like the third highest among offensive wide receiver, running backs, tight ends. Um, I think the fourth is Cooper Cup. Okay, so we're talking all the time on the field. All right, that's pretty exceptional, actually. Then we have 19 targets, 18% target share. So he's getting a lot of work. It's only come out to like 7, I think, points per game. Um, it could be better, sure, but he's getting the work. I mean, 19 targets in 3 games, that's 6 targets per game. I'm interested in any tight end averaging 6 targets per game. Now, I'm not necessarily going to start them every week, but I'm interested for sure. Foster Moreau, he does not have a great matchup for this week or even next week. But you can be sure for week 12's next week tonight, so next week tonight, he's probably going to be on the streaming tight end list for sure because he is a great week 12 and 13 matchups. He is the best. I think they play Seattle in week 12. That's the best tight end matchup. So add him now before the rest of the league figures it out. I say that because with Waller going to IR, it kind of highlights it, and maybe other people are going to catch on to it. So we're trying to get you ahead of that. Terrace Marshall, also high target share the last 3 weeks. He had a good matchup this week. I didn't get a final stat line. I literally was waiting for the game to end, and then I hit go live. So, but he does have good matchups in week 15, 16, 17. So the idea, again, high upside ads is if he continues doing well, developing, they continue to rely on him. Come week 15, 16, 17, that's the playoffs, fantasy football playoffs, right, guys? You have injuries, other things. He could end up coming through for you as a big play if he gets hot. All right. Running backs. So Isaiah Spiller, this might be one of the few kind of high upside handcuffs that you can still add, right? Because he's clearly taken over the job from Sony last week at least. I didn't hear of anything that was a reason like an injury or something like that for why Sony would not have been playing as much. Spiller got 7-8 carries, something like that. So when Sony did not. So that is, like I said, as far as high upside handcuffs go, that's about as high as it gets, right? So, all right, we talked about the bye weeks already. Jags, Dolphins, Seahawks, Bucks, a lot of wide receivers, and several quarterbacks as well. So, unfortunately, it's a really bad week for quarterback matchups, at least as far as lower rostered quarterbacks go. All of the lower rostered quarterbacks have bad matchups. So when I say go ahead and play Tyler Heineke against Washington, here's the thing. Washington's points against, like, I don't know what platform you play on, but it's going to have the little, the number in red of the rank of the matchup. It's probably going to be in red, like 28th or something like that. I don't know how their particular place does it. Mine is a mixture of rankings, both taking into account just the raw actual points against, but also the volumes and also the efficiencies. So when I blend those together, that's how I get my rankings, matchup rankings. So for Taylor Heineke, it's not a great matchup, like I say, because Houston is so bad at defending the run that teams just keep on having big running back games against them. But it could be, sometimes you got to go for it, and it could work out, because sometimes those games turn into the like ugly shootouts. All right, it could be a really ugly dud, but it also could turn out to be a shootout. So the other one I have here is Kenny Pickett, because basically Cincinnati, like, they They are really good, and they are going to be throwing the ball, and it might be pushing them to have to throw the ball as well. A lot of negative game script here. So if Kenny Pickett is throwing the ball a lot, then he could rack up some points. And look, we're going to get to it, but you saw it. Defense. I had Cincinnati Bengals as a defense. Well, how does that make sense as a defense when I'm also on? Okay. Uh, both these things can be true. Kenny Pickett can throw 2 interceptions, right? Kenny Pickett can also throw 2 touchdowns and 300 yards. And that is a good quarterback game in most scorings still. So he can still have a good game, and at the same time, Cincinnati pressuring him can get some turnovers and also have a good game for fantasy. So both these things can be true. Running backs. So Jerick McKinnon, in a lot of these close games, Jerick McKinnon is actually getting the most snaps, the most weighted opportunities. Okay. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is now actually at the bottom of this committee. Pacheco, week 10 is going to be interesting for Pacheco because it's kind of the first time they've had a matchup that I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs. And so it could be a case where Pacheco might actually get some run. But here in week 11, playing the Chargers, I think the Chargers are going to be able to, again, keep it close. And so Jerick McKinnon's once again going to be getting the better opportunities. Similarly, Chuba Hubbard, we just saw him tonight, played back into it. He's healthy. I think next week could be the week where he gets more involved. D'Onta Foreman, it was an ugly game, but he pulled it off and actually pulled out a touchdown tonight. And so gave you like 14 points, 13 points, something like that. Without a touchdown, it's an ugly 7 or something, right? But Chuba Hubbard is a little bit more of the receiving back. As far as, they have one. There is the Black Shear, I think, got a little involved, but Chuba is the more all-around receiving and everything. So I could see him getting more involved in a game against the Ravens if the Ravens start putting up points. So again, we're finding the negative game strips and playing the running back that's going to be involved, the classic satellite third down back. That's all we're shooting for here because those are the guys who are available to add. Wide receivers. So again, a lot of wide receivers on bye. So we're going to be talking about a lot of wide receivers. First of all, double check Michael Gallup is on a roster. He's somewhere around 40% right now, which is right about the edge of where I would actually even talk about him. That's on Yahoo. And if Yahoo is 40%, then it's probably in reality, real leagues, he's not available. But you should be checking. He's definitely the wide receiver 2 there. Noah Brown is still injured, and so on. So the Vikings are playing really well. They could be forcing Dallas. That could easily be a shootout. Dallas has a good defense, but Minnesota doesn't have the best defense, especially against the passing game. And so I could just see them kind of pushing each other and this being a good game for the over on the total points. Or even better, look for what the line is. And if it's high, Vegas is setting the line high. That's probably going to be a good thing for Michael Gallup. Next we have Wan'Dale Robinson. We've talked about Wan'Dale before, talked about picking him up. New York's had some bad matchups. They just had a bye week and so on. So he very well is still out there. I think he's in the 20s as far as rostered on Yahoo. But come week 11, he's actually finally going to have a really, really good matchup. And who knows, he might have a good week here in week 10 as well. So you want to make sure he's on your roster if he's out there. But in week 11, they play Detroit. Detroit has given up a lot of points to wide receivers in the slot. Now, I say that there's a website. It's I closed it. Shoot. It's the 33rd, and they have a tool called The Edge. Josh Larkey and others over there on that site developed it. It's a fun little tool, lets you kind of look up stats, but in very, very specific situations, either against certain teams, ranges of weeks, um, different positions, obviously, but also things like where they were lining up in the slot out wide. And we're talking about Waddle and, oh, also Jacoby Myers had his best game against the Lions playing in the slot. I mean, he had like 24 points playing in the slot. But when I say he had 24 points playing in the slot, this tool allowed me to not just talk about how many points he had for the whole game and then he played a lot on the slot. No, literally, that's how many points he had when he was take on the plays he was in the slot. He had more points than that in that game. Same for Waddle. Same for KJ Osborne and Thielen had big games against them. I think all the Washington receivers, Curtis Samuel, Dotson, and McLaurin, all had over 10 points in their matchup against the Lions just on their slot snaps. So check that out. I'll try to link it or have it somewhere here. The 33rd team and Josh Lucky on Twitter. He's involved with that site, so you can be able to find it there. The tool's called the Edge, so it's pretty cool. But again, Wan'Dale Robinson playing the Lions. He has also been getting most of the slot work for the Giants since he's returned. Now, I know Darius Slayton's had some good games here. He's actually outperforming Robinson, but again, this matchup specifically, I really like the Robinson's matchup against the Lions. So, and finally, Deshaun Jackson in dynasties, even he was being picked up. I'm not sure he's really been getting picked up in redrafts, but if you're really desperate, this one's it's a fun one. It'll be exciting. It's worth a shot, right? He is the kind of player who is explosive, and he's the wide receiver 2 there basically for the Ravens, with Bateman being out now for the season, and with Andrews being a little bit beat up, but he seemed to get back into it a little bit better last week, but didn't seem like fully. I have nothing for tight ends this week, guys. I do. Oh, I do. What happened to my slide? I thought so. When I went through it first, quick at the beginning, I was like, wait, did I skip tight end? No. Yeah, I didn't have a slide for it. Sorry, guys. Tyler Conklin. So, wide receiver Tyler Conklin playing against the Patriots in Week 11. He had the best game of his season against the Patriots last time. A lot of tight ends have good games, touchdown games against the Patriots. That's just kind of one of their weaknesses. It's been actually for a while, at least as far as fantasy. I think it's intentional. They'd rather, if they have to give up something, give it up to that. I don't know, but obviously not intentionally giving up touchdowns. You know what I mean? So Tyler Conklin, he hasn't had some great games lately, so I could see him being available come Week 11 or even now. So go pick him up. And then for defenses, we got Cincinnati Bengals. Like I said, both things can be true at the same time. Bengals can have a good game, even if Pickett is scoring points for you as a streamer. Okay, so all right, Week 10 recap. Let's hit it. Of course, I did a lot of moves for contenders, so get Derrick Henry. Keep trying to tell you, it's almost too late now. Reminded you to pick up Wilson, and then he right away had a big game for Miami, so that was really interesting for Mostert. And then a reminder, just random other running back handcuffs, which is why I brought up Spiller. I told you to, if you're a contender, told you trade away Drake London. Now I did warn you, they have a good schedule coming up. He got a touchdown tonight, something like 13 points. I think it was like 4 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown. So that's a good sign, I hope. Like I said, if you can't get rid of him, That's okay because he does have a good schedule coming up. One of the best, if not the best. So this was more of a really trying to leverage him to get someone who's going to get you even more than 13, right? For the stretch run, for the championship run. That was the idea here. So now he's even more valuable. Great. Okay. And then I was kind of pivoting off that, saying, okay, if you're selling him, if you're a contender, then you should be buying him as a rebuild. And so again, hopefully you bought him before he had a good game and his price went up. Jonathan Taylor, same thing. He's back practicing in full this week, so that's good. So the fear is maybe gone now already. It happens quick. People react very quickly. Cash out Naheem Hines. He did practically nothing. And Josh Allen promptly goes for 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, his shoulder or elbow, whatever it is, hurt. We're not sure. We'll see how it goes. If they have to have a backup, maybe things change. Maybe that's a positive for Naheem Hines. We'll see. But they keep playing James Cook. Even though they just traded for Hines. So and he's been looking good. Cook has. So again, it's just a really weird situation that they traded for Hines. It really is. Those were the week 10 buys. So PJ Walker just played. I'm not even sure how many points he had or anything. I forgot that he would be on Thursday night. But if you still need someone, Andy Dalton, I think is a decent shot. I do wonder if when we're going to see Winston again. I really do wonder it. So keep an eye on that because, well, it wasn't pretty last week. And if he can't get it done against the Steelers defense, they really should put Winston back in. This is a big one, guys. Told you go ahead and start Rachaad White week 10. He has a good matchup this week. And he also showed up last week, after this show was aired last week. And it was getting some hype, and so was getting picked up a lot. If you picked him up Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, you're looking really smart right now. Okay. Everyone got excited about him and his usage, went to go look for him and discovered, oh, that's right. You added him before the weekend. What? How'd you do that? Right? That's what we're doing here, guys. All right, week 10, Jarvis Landry, Saints Steelers. Landry seemed like it was a close call. Did not actually play Monday Night Football week 9. I thought he was going to. And then I was hoping with that one game under his belt, we'd have more confidence for him in week 10. There's not a lot of confidence there. So I would go with the second one here. Donovan Peoples-Jones playing at Miami. He is a much better matchup. I cannot believe he continues to be low ownership. I cannot believe it. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he should be on teams everywhere, always. Tight end Kate Otten, boom, worked out last week. I know it was a touchdown at the very, very end, but that's a good sign. He's growing chemistry with Tom Brady, who likes using his tight end when he's good. He likes using a tight end when the tight end is good. And Kate Otten is good. So that's good news. And Cole Kmet finally had a big game. Yeah, I mean, the Chicago Bears as a whole finally had a good game. So, but even a couple weeks ago, he had a touchdown. So that's going to be one that hopefully you got ahead of the curve on that one as well. Again, Chicago versus Detroit. Detroit's defense, just pick on them. Keep picking on them. Broncos here in week 10. Again, they are high ownership defense usually, but they were on bye, so they might have gotten dropped, so you might have been able to stash them. I did that with the Eagles defense during their bye week. I picked them up, stashed them. It's the only time I'll carry 2 defenses on a roster is when I'm managing to get one of the really good ones on their bye for free, right? And then if you're desperate, Giants against Houston, okay? So back in week 9, which has actually been played and we finally have results, we can go back and see. It was a rough week for buys, guys. I know it was. Um, Burks has been designated for return. Dotson, I think there's talk of him returning. I don't know if he was actually designated. Van Jefferson has not had good games being back now, but he's out there playing. Okay, so we'll see. I'll give him one more week as a possibility. If it's a terrible, then we'll call this one a loss and move on. But he was getting opportunity. He actually could have had like a 40-yard catch or something, and it hit his hands. So that wasn't obviously a good thing. Week 9 streamers, mixed bag. If you follow me on Twitter at FusionFFB, I did warn you that the Malik Willis one is not looking good. So obviously that meant go to that Taylor Heineke, and he played fairly well as a streaming quarterbacks go, 14.6 points. All right, that's okay. Running backs, Michael Carter. Now, Carter's probably too highly owned to have been a real serious streamer, so I'm not going to be too excited about this one. But I did want to bring him up because it's possible he was out there, and even if he's just on your roster, I wanted to give you confidence that he is the one that you should be flexing in. But these other guys, Sony, like we just talked about, Spiller overtook his work there in week 9. So no, that didn't work out. It should have been Spiller, who still didn't get a ton of points, but it should have been Spiller. Craig Reynolds, that didn't work out because Swift was not out. Nor is he still. They're just giving him like 15% snap. It's really weird. So I wouldn't trust Reynolds either. He had to been moved up to the second running back with Swift completely out in order for that to have a shot. Cleve Raymond, only 4.7 points, right, in week 9, playing the Packers. So you could hope for some more there. But the DeAndre Carter take, Chargers down a lot of people. Now, Josh Palmer had a great game, but DeAndre Carter did get enough work to put up 10. That's what we're hoping for. But the KJ Osborne take did absolutely nothing. So that was not great. The Kyle Pitts one was tongue-in-cheek, but 4.7. And Robert Tonyan, I was hoping for, but they had a terrible game. Absolutely terrible. 5.9 points. I would have thought he had more points, but no. And the defenses, Bears, this is our first negative of the year. Sorry, guys. Hope you went with the Vikings instead. They at least just got you a basic 6 points, but sometimes that's all you're hoping for. All right, guys. Thanks for the show. Trying to keep it quick this week, just a half hour. I did have a chance to go on with Seth Keller on the Fantasy Football Facts podcast, and there was also a YouTube of it. So follow me on Twitter at FusionFFB, and I did retweet that. We had a nice discussion Tuesday night talking about kind of a process versus results, which you can go back to episode 133, maybe 132. I can't remember now. But it was the summer before last, right after the whole Akers injury, Achilles injury, and I got to really dive into the logic behind process versus results, and what can you and can't you claim as a successful process based on successful results or not, right? Including, the whole injury victory lapping. So I really broke it down a lot more detail there. A lot of that work I'd already done was expressed with hopefully some new additions in that show from Tuesday with Seth Keller, FF at Home Dad on Twitter. So thank you to him again, and be sure to check that out. We like to support all these other shows that are putting out good work. Again, on Twitter at FusionFFB, and of course, FusionFFB.com will have all my notes, which I have more like stats on a bunch of these in the notes, and a link to this YouTube, which if you're listening, you'll be able to find there. If you're watching, you already found it. Good job. All right, guys, that's the week. Um, as we get towards the end of the season, especially like Thanksgiving, basically is where the utility of this show next week tonight kind of runs out, right? So at that point, if there's something specific you want out of me, you still want like high upside starters and so on like that for your playoffs run, let me know. If you want me to switch over entirely to dynasty and trades to be making, let me know. I probably will be shifting into dynasty as a whole, doing more evaluation of takes, and even I'm hoping to get some rookie prospect numbers, just the rough ones, um, into my process. You know, because last year I was able to identify immediately Brees Hall um, as soon as those numbers went in, and I was a little annoyed that I wasn't able to be even earlier on it. And I know there's a lot of supposed to be a good 2023 class, so we'll see what it really looks like. Because I remember everyone was all excited about Spiller, and then he fell. Now I'm telling you, I had him now, but he's not nearly the prospector. It's not like he's Kenneth Walker or Brees Hall, obviously. So the sooner I can jump into that process, the further ahead of the game we can be. So even in the off season in Dynasty, it's not next week tonight, but I'm still trying to keep you guys ahead weeks and months instead. All right, have a good night, everybody. Good luck in week 10. I'll see you in week 12 on next week tonight.